The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Go Cowboys! This is Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Jigsaw Dating, preferred dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys, and broadcasting live from Dallas Cowboys World Headquarters at the Star.
Well, good morning, everybody. Happy September. We are officially in football season. September feels like football. Welcome to Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Jigsaw, the preferred dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys. I'm Jess Navarez, joined alongside Aisha Morrison and Christy Scales. Ladies, it's Virgo season. We talked about this earlier, but something about September feels like football, and it is right around the corner. The regular season next week, officially, we go back to our regular time slot. So exciting. Things are starting to feel real. So let's kick things off. Let's start with our text line. If you have any questions throughout the show, you can text us at 817-290-3298. We're going to take calls in the second line today. We want to hear from you ahead of the season as well, so that will be exciting. Practices this week. We talked earlier in the week about what we saw at practice. Saw a little bit of practice yesterday as well, but I think more importantly, we talked to a lot of the guys and we got a lot of good insight ahead of next week. So let's talk about it. Christy, I'm going to defer to you first. What was one of the main takeaways from this week's worth of practices for you?
Well, besides it being switched to the morning just to get out of the heat, no, it was funny. Actually, like real scout team stuff, real actual preparations for the New York Giants. And of course, they've been the past few weeks, the first team has been working on stuff that you're going to see in the game plan against New York. But we've gone from player evaluation through that final preseason game, especially of the young guys, and now preparation for the Giants. And I'm excited. I can't wait. And one of the reasons that we're going back, as Jess mentioned, to the regularly scheduled time for Girls Talk, Boys Talk is because the Cowboys are going back to their more normal practice schedule, having their practice start late morning rather than first thing at 8 a.m. just to try to beat the heat.
Yeah, Jess said it's starting to get real. You're starting to feel that football coming. But when I was watching practice the other day, it's not even anything just out the ordinary, but you can tell that it's sped up, that
Absolutely.
things are picking up. And that's why the install period with the OTAs, mini camp, training camp is so important for these young guys. Because, baby, when it started going, we ain't got time to wait around for you. You're going to have to excel. So I'm starting to get excited myself. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's great.
I literally was thinking about it last night. I was like, oh, it's about to happen. Like, football's coming. Like, football's about to be here, y'all.
It's one of those things you wake up in the morning, August slipped away, and you are officially in September. It just feels like football season. It really does. Mike McCarthy said in his press conference yesterday that this week they were working on third down, normal and distance, and then next week they're going to start working in the red zone come Monday. But they are in game prep, and that's something that McCarthy's been saying even well before this week, was he started to look at the Giants ahead of the last preseason game against the Raiders even. So exciting stuff there. Let's talk about other things Mike McCarthy said this week, because Trey Lance, we officially got to see him geared up in that number 15 jersey. We talked about that in our last episode, but Christy, a little nugget, and it's funny because when we're in those press conferences, you can tell when Mike McCarthy says something interesting, because it's like all of our ears kind of perk up a little bit.
Right.
And I specifically saw you when he said this. He talked about Trey Lance in the quarterback meeting room, and so I would love for you to talk about this because I think it's so interesting and it says a lot about Trey.
Yeah, the reference that Mike McCarthy used was that Trey Lance in the quarterback meeting room, it was like a beautiful mind, and that's the Russell Crowe movie, the real life mathematician there, and just it's a great visual in the movie where he's writing things down, but even just looking out the window and all the formulas and all the mathematical calculations are popping up like on the window and things like that. So yeah, you're right, Jess. I kind of perked up and because I was visualizing Trey Lance there. He's obviously a young, bright young mind, and I could just see all of these little, the route combinations and things just like floating over his head, like the numbers with Russell Crowe in the movie A Beautiful Mind.
Absolutely. And something else that he mentioned, Aisha, we're going to talk about this because we have talked since last season about Terrence Steele and the injury that occurred for him, and how we've talked about it on this show before, how amazing it is for him to be as far as he is ahead of his schedule, less than a year after the injury, to already be suiting up and getting ready to take the field come week 1 of the regular season. During Mike McCarthy's press conference, he said that he's never seen a recovery like that. He talked about Terrence not ever missing a day, and he said it's just Terrence. He's the same every time, every day doing the rehab. Feels like he never left. And then what I really liked is that he said he's a no-nonsense glue guy. That's a very big statement from a head coach. Aisha, during this time, and we'll even go back to OTA's minicamp through training camp to now, what is the progression you've seen from Terrence, and how excited does that make you to see what he's capable of building off of from where he left off the last time he was on the field?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. He really did just pick up where he left off, which brought me to, like, anytime I've gotten a chance to talk to Terrence, I'm asking about his diet. I'm asking about his regimen. I'm asking about, like, because I'm trying to rationalize it myself as someone that, like, watches football as much as we do and has to watch it in depth. Like, an ACL injury is typically, it takes time, and we even saw Michael Gallup. It takes time, but this guy has come out. He's getting to the second level. He's lead blocking. Like, you worried about maybe when you see a guy with the brace on. I think I tweeted this. It's like you normally see a guy with the brace on, and you think that's going to change how mobile they're going to be, or just how fast they can get off the ball and angles and stuff. But I asked him. I was like, has the brace helped you? And he was like, obviously it gives you a little bit more peace of mind, but he's talked about it's not something that changes it, just gives him a little bit more. But he was telling me that it not being on the leg he kicks with gives him almost like extra stability on his lead leg, and he was like, I think he feels stronger on his get off, getting off the line because he has that brace. And so just to even see that he's looked at the positives in it and figured out a way I thought it was just interesting. I've never heard a player say that, because he told me, like, Tyron wears one on the other leg, but Tyron doesn't feel that way, and it's because it's on the leg he kicks with.
Right.
And so I was like, that's just interesting that he can turn something like that into a positive, and then also use it to his advantage. I'm so impressed with him and his progression, and I think he, like you said, the glue. He is the foundation of this offensive line. I'm sorry, I know that was a lot, but
Don't apologize. Great content.
To see him. I've never seen anything like this. I was like, did you contact the Wakandans? Did y'all have some conversations?
The funny thing is, she tells him that. Like,
I say that to him.
Yeah.
He laughs. He don't.
So what we need to do is ask Terrence to bring maybe it's in his locker, in the little cabinet in the locker. He probably has it at home, but Terrence was one of 2 players to receive the Golden Whistle Award.
That's right.
In the off season. And so this year, and talking with Harold, who's the strength and conditioning coordinator, this year Harold thought it would be fun, in addition to the Gold Whistle, which has the names on it. J-Ron Curse, by the way, was the other player to win the Golden Whistle Award this year, that they included a little trophy as well. So let's ask Terrence if he has it at home to bring his Golden Whistle and golden and his trophy. But I do want to mention one thing about the braces, knee braces, and it's interesting to see the approaches that the different coaches have brought over the years. So, for example, Bill Parcells, when he was here, it was mandated that the offensive linemen and defensive linemen wore knee braces on both knees, and it was thought that it would help avoid injury. So not just the extra stability, like Tyron and Terrence say, or Terrence says that it helps him with it pushing off on that leg, but they didn't have a choice back then when it was Bill Parcells was the head coach. But of course, most of the players don't wear them unless they've had some kind of injury situation. But I remember those years where they had to wear them.
Very good nuggets here, ladies. The text line is open for questions, and with the Dallas Cowboys coming off of 2 consecutive seasons of 12-5, it's about that time we start talking about potential records and expectations for the season. It is that time officially, but we had a question come in from the text line that I thought would be a little interesting bit of conversation, because we know bit of a drought in Dallas that these guys, more than anybody, they're ready to break it. They're ready to break that drought. The question is this an NFC championship or bust season for Mike McCarthy and Dak Prescott? Overall expectations for the team. I wish this person would have said their name, because they said, "Love the show, ladies," and we appreciate that. So thank you, whoever sent that in. But expectations based on what you're hearing. We'll get into locker room talks and some of the conversations we've had with the guys this week in our next segment when we're taking some calls. But expectations for this team going into official regular season mode next week. Aisha, I'll go to you, and then we'll defer to Christy.
Expectations. I will say, from the time that we had the opportunity to come into the locker room and just start feeling the players or feeling their presence I want to say OTAs, minicamp, that stuff. Since I started, I don't know, there's just an energy you can feel about this team right now. And it's hard to describe, it's hard to put into words, but Micah talked about it. They've almost gotten there. They've gotten a taste, and they're just going to keep trying. I think they're going to keep making strides towards it. I expect this team to have a deep playoff run this year, and I'm not worried about injuries in the same way unless it's just something catastrophic, because I feel like Mike McCarthy for the last 2 years has handled injuries going into the playoffs extremely well.
Yes. Yep.
And so, to me, that is one of the only things that could derail things. But then I'm saying to myself, this head coach got through not having their quarterback for 5 weeks, you lost Donovan Wilson at certain points. It's been an uphill situation, but I think they've made so much progress. There should be some good things that come out of this year to me.
It's like the old Houston Oilers and Bum Phillips, been knocking on the door, and this year you're going to kick it down.
Yes, ma'am.
That's an old reference. But certainly media and fans, no question that 2 consecutive 12-win seasons is not enough. It's getting to the NFC Championship game and hopefully beyond. But Aisha, I think you make a great point about the energy and the expectations within the room, and that's what's really important. And so I agree. You look at what they've added on both sides of the ball with Gilmore and Cooks, and I think that overall the wide receiver core is better than last year, and don't really see any excuses unless there were some kind of injury situation. But you're right. The way that they handled the injuries entering the playoffs the past 2 years, they were, I would say, poised among the best in the NFL in terms of injury situations entering the playoffs. So, Jess, what are you thinking? Are you NFC Championship game and or beyond?
Look, I would love nothing more than to tell my parents, how weird, the first year I get to cover the Cowboys, and this is what happens. Last time they went to the Super Bowl and won, I was born. So I don't know, guys. I would love nothing more than to rub that in my parents' faces, especially my dad. He would love that. But no, I think what I really appreciate about this team is, there's a lot of emphasis on the physical strength and what you're able to do on the field. But what I really appreciate, and I wish more people got to see, is how much Mike McCarthy really cares about these guys, how much the entire coaching staff really goes out of their way for these guys, and they take care of them mentally as well. So not only are they they're physically fit to be on the field, they're mentally fit, and they're in good places. They're in solid mindsets going into the season, and it doesn't feel like there's any panic or worry. Even for the younger guys that are in the room, they have these cornerstone men that are there with them that have been where they are. They have, guys like Michael Gallup that understand what it's like to come back from an injury, that can mentor them. They have guys like Brandon Cooks who gives them advice on their body. They have, the young tight end room that's now ready to amplify. And then on the defensive side, you have a Micah Parsons and a Tank. You just have so many different layers of this team covered really all around, whether it comes to good advice and how to take care of yourself mentally, physically. They all just seem really prepared and ready. I don't feel any kind of weird sense of hesitation with this team. So look, I really am excited for what this team is capable of doing. And I think they do have a tough schedule. So you have to factor that in a little bit and be realistic with things. However, this team has faced adversity before, and any adversity that's faced throughout the season, I think that they have the strong enough glues within them, right, to make sure they overcome that. Real quick, we do want to give some injury updates before we head to our next segment, where we are taking calls. So make sure to get your phones ready to start dialing those numbers so you can chat with us about all things Dallas Cowboys football. Sam Williams, he did not practice this week, and he exited practice on Wednesday with turf toe. As per reports, it's not considered significant. We were talking about turf toe before we started recording. Christy, what have you seen in terms of turf toe and what it can really do? Can it be lingering?
For sure.
Talk about it a little
Not
bit.
just through the season, but turf toe. And Chris Beam, our producer, we were talking about it before signing on. And,
Chris, chime in with this one.
Deion Sanders played for years with turf toe. And basically what it is, it's when you're bending it the wrong way. There are ligaments and tendons and soft tissue in your toe. There's also a joint in your toe. It's the MTP joint. And so sometimes it can involve that joint, but it's very painful. And Chris, I know you remember very clearly, and of all of the positions, not that any position is good to have turf toe, but to be a cornerback and rely on your speed and things like that. Gosh. So yeah, there are different grades. They sometimes say grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, and the good news is it sounds like Sam's is the lesser of it. But the problem is these soft tissue injuries. What do you do for turf toe? Well, you stay off it, but guess what? You're a professional football player, and that's not really an option. So it's going to be tough.
Absolutely. And Donovan Wilson, another guy that we saw at practice not participating, he was on the side there as well. So any updates that we have on Dono, anything, kind of just don't know yet.
Well, that's the thing with the calf injury. That's the deal. We're talking about soft tissue injury, and that was actually the first day of practice. So that was back the final week of July, and so he is such an important catalytic player for this defense. Even if he's not credited with the forced fumble or the fumble recovery or the interception, usually he's involved somehow. And such a great player, and in my opinion, one of the most underappreciated and underrated players on the entire Dallas Cowboys squad. So, but again, just something, these soft tissue injuries, something they're just going to have to, unfortunately,
work through,
deal with, really, all season.
Absolutely. Well, let's go ahead and take our first break. When we come back, we're getting questions about who we think is going to flip the switch and have a breakout year, so something for you guys to think about. In the meantime, get your phones ready. We are taking calls in the next segment. You can call us at 888-855-2297. Start dialing those numbers. We'll be right back. This is Girls Talk Boys Talk, presented by Jigsaw, the preferred dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
We know that juicy, cheesy, grilled to perfection burger sounds amazing, but it does sound like something is missing. Pepsi, baby! The yin to this burger's yang. Burgers and Pepsi go together like burgers and Pepsi. This perfect blending of flavors makes every bite of lettuce, every sesame seed on the bun, and every sip of that crisp, refreshing, ice-cold cola a journey to Foodtopia. Burgers, better with Pepsi. That's what I like.
At Jigsaw Dating, we obviously want the Cowboys to bring that 6th ring home. But to be honest, we're more focused on finding the person who will put a ring on your finger. That's why we created a dating app that reveals your face through meaningful conversation, so you can date deeper. Because it's personality that matters the most, not looks. Join Jigsaw Dating today, dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
To Girls Talk Boys Talk, presented by Jigsaw, the preferred dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys. We are taking calls in this segment. We're answering all your questions, and we're talking about some locker room conversations we've had. But first, a fan favorite event, Market at the Star, presented by Fleestyle, will take place on Saturday, September 9th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. out on the Tostitos Championship Plaza. Come shop from 50-plus local markets or makers offering art, fashion, decor, and more at this free outdoor market. Visit thestardistrict.com for more information. Sounds like a lot of fun. And you know what else sounds fun? Is if you give us a call. You can call us at 888-855-2297. Let's talk some football. Start dialing those numbers, and we're taking calls throughout this entire second segment here. You can also text us as well. If you're a little too shy for that, you can text us at 817-290-3298. Okay, so before we left off, we got a question that I had you guys kind of stewing on. We're talking about it over the break about a breakout season, flipping the switch. Keith from Kentucky wants to know, who do you think is going to be the biggest surprise this year, whether it be Deuce Vaughn, Hunter Lipke, Kevontae Turpin, Jake Ferguson, or Damone Clark? Who's having that breakout year? Aisha, you were the first one that you were like, I have an idea. All right, here's your spotlight.
Yeah, he's
Who
not on
has
my
your
list.
breakout year?
He's not on that list, but man, Tyler Smith at guard sounds real good to me. Like I think that Tyler is going to have the opportunity to really display his power and just how strong his anchor is. Obviously, he does it at left tackle, but left tackle involves a lot more footwork. And I feel like him being able to get in a phone booth and really just get into guys, I feel like he's going to have a fantastic year at left guard if there are no moving parts. So he is one of my breakout players, and yeah, I think it's going to be on full display in this division. Mm-hmm. You need your interior to be strong. I think your interior just got a lot better.
Yeah. Well, I thought he was outstanding last year. So, but breakout in terms of receiving the recognition
At left
nationally,
guard, yes.
for sure, because
Absolutely.
it's hard for linemen to get the spotlight, especially when you have so many superstar skill players on the Cowboys. But for Keith's. As for the list provided by Keith, I would say Damone Clark because, oh my gosh, what a camp. And he was so important to this defense towards the end of last year.
Yeah.
But he is going to be taking names this year. If he stays healthy, he was coming off the neck. And it was really something that he was even able to participate last year in his rookie year, coming off the neck surgery and everything. But I will say one player that is not on the list, but in terms of flipping the switch, and he will be our guest on the Cowboy Hour Monday night, 6 o'clock Central. Brad Sham and I have as the first person Jalen Tolbert.
Come on, Drop.
So excited.
He just had such an outstanding camp, such an outstanding offseason. We talked about him a lot earlier in the week, but now, I'm not predicting that he's going to have 50 or 60 pass receptions this year because when you have Brandon Cooks and CeeDee Lamb and Jake Ferguson, I think is going to have a great year at tight end. Tony Pollard and Deuce Vaughn are going to be catching footballs out of the backfield. But Tolbert, I think, is really going to – I don't want to miss on Michael Gallup, of course, Michael Gallup. But I think Jalen Tolbert is really going to have a chance to contribute this year. And compared to the disappointing season that he had last year as a rookie, I think he's the guy that flips a switch.
Oh, I love
today.
that. All right, well.
Hey, who do you have?
I have Jake Ferguson.
Ooh.
You know how much that tight end room just sings to my soul when it comes to what they are capable of doing. I've gotten to talk to Jake this week. He's somebody that I went to go catch up with pretty much every time. Every time I see him in the locker room, I go talk to Jake. He has such a brilliant football mind, and he has a way of talking about it that's so casual.
Yeah.
Like, he casually talks about how smart he is with football.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Jake, what? Like, what are you talking about? What I love about this room is you talk about a room that just brings the energy, brings the fun, and Jake is so ready to take on that fearless leader role for that room. And he has been. I think the glimmers that you saw of him in preseason, that's nothing compared to what he's ready to do.
Oh, totally agree.
The yak abilities that this man has, he will plow through anybody.
Or hurdle.
I mean, it doesn't matter. Jake Ferguson, when he wants those yards, he's getting those yards, and that is that.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to see what Jake can do, and I'm excited for that entire room as a whole. Peyton seems ready. Schoon, from what I've talked to him, I haven't seen him this week, but from when I've talked to him, he's just so ready to go. He's so eager, and they all just mesh so well together, and of course they credit Lunda Wells so much for their growth and development, and you talk about coaches prioritizing guys. Lunda absolutely cherishes his job in the terms of he's going to take care of his guys. Yeah. They have his back. He has their backs. Jake Ferguson, I'm so excited for what Fergie's going to do this year. these guys in the locker room, we have all these talks about, football, life, all the things. And one thing I will say is they're just so ready to take on that Four Horsemen identity.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned Hendershot too, because talking with Linda, I'm interested to see how they're going to utilize Hendershot this year, because it may be different with what McCarthy is doing and Schottenheimer are doing with the offense. But talking with Linda last year, he thought that Hendershot, more the way that Blake Jarwin was to be used. So I'm wondering if they can do that. And as for Schoonmaker, don't measure his what he brings to the offense by the number of catches.
Sure.
It's going to be the run game. He is going to be so big in blocking in the run game. So, but you're right. Yeah, I know.
About the offensive line. This is the first time we're going to get to see this offensive line all together.
Right.
And because Schoon is really going to be an extension of them. I don't think people understand how natural of a blocker he is. His vision is so good, but he's strong. He has a big body. I know we both all have been impressed with just how much size he has, but y'all just get me excited over here.
Aisha wishes we kicked off this Sunday.
Season.
Now we got to wait 9 days.
9 days. Oh my goodness. I'm very excited. I think it's going to be something that is absolutely special to watch this team come together, because you have September football, which is everyone's kind of getting their feet on the ground, getting used to things. And then you have December football, and that comes quicker than we think. And that December football, at this pace that this team has been going at, is going to be something special. Don't forget, you guys can call us with any questions you might have at 888-855-2297. We're still taking questions from the text line as well, if you want to text questions in. Ladies, we've gotten the chance, and we're so fortunate and lucky to do what we do every day.
Absolutely.
And part of that is we get to go in the locker room, we get to talk to these guys. A couple of guys we got to hear from this week, and I was really excited to hear from, was the Dallas Cowboys' newest addition to the cornerback room, Noah Igbenogany. And I have practiced that so much say that just
say it
so
again.
natural.
Say it
Igbenogany.
again.
Noah
Excellent.
Igbenogany. We got to hear from Noah, and it's just the way he talks. He fits right into this defense. I don't know about you, Christy, when we're standing there talking and listening to him, he has the same mentality as the rest of the defense does. And that's not to say Calvin Joseph didn't, right? I'm not comparing anything. He just seems so excited to be here. And what I loved about what he was saying was, I didn't even know 2 days ago I would be here. And I was praying for some kind of change in my life. I was praying for something, an opportunity. And I didn't know I was praying for this and to be here 2 days later. So I really, really love Noah's mindset. Christy, we were talking in the locker room after he had spoken, or I think it was right before, and you told me, I just learned a little fun fact. And when Christy comes at you with the little fun facts, you know it's going to be good. You just know she's going to come with something just so great. And so what did you learn about his family ties with track?
Well, Noah's from Alabama, but his parents are from Nigeria, and they both competed in the Olympics for the Nigerian track team. So his dad was in the Olympics. He was a triple jumper, and he was in the 1996 Olympics in Atlanta representing Nigeria. His father's name is Festus, and Noah's mother's name is Faith, and she was a sprinter, the 4x100 relay team for Nigeria. I mean, how awesome is that? And so she actually competed in the Barcelona Olympics. That's 1992, and then so medaled there, and then won a gold medal in the Commonwealth Games, and so Noah actually was a track star, but then decided later on, to focus on football, and so he actually went to Auburn. And his freshman year, he was a wide receiver, and after his freshman year is when he converted to cornerback and ended up being the first-round draft pick for the Dolphins in 2020. So this is his fourth NFL season. And, of course, when he enter Miami, he's only started 5 games and played in 32 in his career. So not living up to the expectations of a first-round draft pick for the Dolphins. But you got to remember they had Byron Jones, the former Dallas Cowboy, was a starter there. So it's kind of like Trey Lance in terms of a first-round pick who didn't meet expectations for the team by which he's drafted, but now has a fresh start with the Cowboys. And now Noah, he's playing, Stephon Gilmore and Trayvon Diggs are your starters. Bland's going to be starting in the nickel. Jordan Lewis will be backing up in the nickel, at least for now. So the thing is, Noah plays outside, not inside. So I don't know how much playing time he's going to get, but you're right, Jess. He was just happy to have a fresh start.
Absolutely. Aisha, what have you seen from Noah? And is there anything, I don't know how much tape you've watched, but is there anything, just initial reactions that have stood out to you from what you have seen of him?
Yeah, she already mentioned it. Just the speed. The speed is just, it's off the charts. It's very hard not to notice that he's stride for stride with guys very often. I like some of the things I saw from him in press. I think what you talked about is that he's coming in, he's getting a fresh start, similar to Trey Lance. And I think for a guy like him, that's stride for stride, and maybe what you're looking for with him is for him to make plays on the ball, and be looking for the ball more. He's always there.
So he's doesn't always have his head around or find the ball kind of thing.
But it's also too, like, it makes you, sometimes when I learned this in the draft, when I was watching cornerbacks, it made me appreciate how good Trayvon Diggs is, because it's a lot more difficult than what people think for guys to maintain speed, flip their hips, and also have the wherewithal, like the concentration to find the ball in the air or to look for the ball or make a play on the ball. And we're so used to seeing it here because that's what our secondary is being coached.
Right.
They are well coached.
Good point. Yeah.
And so they also coach turnovers. It is something that they emphasize. It's not a mistake. It's not a fluke that they've led the NFL in turnovers. So for a guy like him that has the speed, has the natural instincts, this is an opportunity for him to get coaching from some of the best, clearly,
at
teaching that. So I'm really looking at him to come in. Also, too, I would be remiss to not talk about his special teams play.
Oh, yeah.
He's very active on special teams. He's played a lot of snaps there. So you're also getting another guy that can come in to fill that void with Nashawn Wright.
Because Kelvin Joseph was so key
and
on
Nashawn Wright
teams.
is gone as well. Yeah. So, well, he's on IR as well.
Right.
So.
And something too that, so speaking of ears perking up, Christy, when we were in the scrum with him, you asked him, you had kick and punt returner abilities in college. You were really good at it, and he was really good at it. At Auburn, from 2017 to 2019, he had 44 kick returns for 1,119 yards, 2 kick return touchdowns, and then in 2019, his highest kick return average was 35.2 yards.
But then what did he say when I asked him about it?
You asked him that, and he said, "You have a great guy in Kevontae Turpin," instantly. And it was, it's one of those things that as a reporter you ask because it's a great ability to ask about. But what I like about it is now you have that depth at that position, at the kick returner and punt returner position, that maybe you were lacking because I've been high on since Noah left. Since Noah left to the Texans, you don't have that backup guy to Kevontae Turpin. And then Deuce Vaughn comes in. You do have Malik Davis on the practice squad. So you have options. And then now you have another option. You have depth there if you want to get pretty with it, or if you need to have depth. Something that he did mention, which I really liked, is I wanted to ask him about Dan Quinn, because obviously what Dan Quinn's been doing for this defense, no matter what team you're on. And he said he felt like Dan Quinn will let up his game more. And he explained that he played a lot of press corner in man coverage in college, and that he said, that's what I feel comfortable doing. Not that I wasn't doing that before in Miami, but that's what Dan Quinn does, and that's how this defense runs. So I feel like I can really come up when my number is called and do my best here. He also thinks that the aggression on the play style is something that he is able to mold well into. Yeah. So I'm really excited for him.
I love that, because that kind of style, it's like you were talking about Trayvon Diggs making the plays on the ball. Well, here's the thing. Noah has the same background as Trayvon. Remember, Trayvon is a converted wide receiver to DB, and that's Noah has a similar career track.
Well, there you go. We're going to get into more locker room talks, and we're also talking talking about jersey numbers. We'll keep those phone lines open for the third segment. If anybody's wanting to call in and ask some questions, you can call us at 888-855-2297, or if you're a little shy, you can send us a text at 817-290-3298 with all of your Cowboys questions. We're talking jersey numbers, changes, and is anyone an Agent Zero this season? We'll find out. This Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Jigsaw, the preferred dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
At Jigsaw Dating, we obviously want the Cowboys to bring that sixth ring home. But to be honest, we're more focused on finding the person who will put a ring on your finger. That's why we created a dating app that reveals your face through meaningful conversation, so you can date deeper. Because it's personality that matters the most, not looks. Join Jigsaw Dating today, dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
You know that sound anywhere. It's the crisp crunch of that first nacho chip. With its perfect cheese to sour cream ratio sitting atop a layer of delicious beans, it's a sip away from perfection. That's what we're looking for. Add a delicious, refreshing Pepsi and we've achieved absolute nacho nirvana. Because while you can pile those nachos high with every spicy, cheesy, savory topping, there's no topping a cool Pepsi finish. Nachos, better with Pepsi. That's what I like.
Welcome back to Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Jigsaw, the preferred dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys. Our last and final segment for the morning show until we go back to our regularly scheduled programming next week. But until then, enjoy premier dining, shopping, and experiences from over 30 restaurants, shops, and more at the Star District. Make sure to stop into the district's newest additions, Cards in a Box, sports cards and collectibles, King Ranch Saddle Shop, and even more. Visit thestardistrict.com for the full directory. There's a lot of great restaurants at the Star District. If you have not checked them out already, go check them out. Okay, ladies, we still have some questions rolling in here, and we'll get to them in a second, but something I did want to make sure to mention, one, we didn't get into jersey number changes just yet, so I wanted to make sure to mention that, and then we have some questions to answer. So let's start with the jersey number changes. All right, let's take a little time machine back to right before OTAs, and the rules were changed in the NFL that the number 0 could be worn by defensive players, and at that point, Micah Parsons had tweeted, "That looks so cool. That looks great." And anytime Micah tweets something, one thing about it, it's going to go viral. And it did. So then Jaron Kearse tweets back, "Too late." And that started the whole conversation of jersey number changes, to which everybody kind of assumed, at that point, Jaron Kearse would change his number from 27 to 0. OTAs come around. He's still in 27. He said logistically it just didn't work out. However, we get our little roster sheets yesterday from Dallas Cowboys PRs. We're out in practice. And right at the very top of that paper says Jaron Kearse jersey number 1. And my eyes went, what? And it was funny because at the time, Brandon Aubrey's still wearing the jersey. They haven't officially switched them yet. They still have to get them to the guys. But Brandon Aubrey was wearing 1 at practice. And I was like, that's not Jaron Kearse over there kicking those field goals. But let's talk about it. So he didn't change to Agent 0. Despite the conversation, he's going from 27 to number 1. Brandon Aubrey, who was previously wearing that 1, is going to 17. Marquise Bell, 41 to 14. Hunter Lipke, 43 to 40. Noah Igbenogany, he wore 9 at Miami. He's now going to wear 19 with the Cowboys. Sean Harlow, he wore 65 with the Giants. He has a history of 64 with the Falcons and Cardinals. He'll wear 65 for the Dallas Cowboys. And then, let's see. My notes are spazzing out a little bit. Okay, Willington, how do you say his last name, Christy?
Oh my gosh.
Prevalon?
Prevalon, I believe.
Prevalon,
yeah,
okay.
It sounds like the Duke of Essex
Yeah,
or something,
like-
doesn't it? Isn't that a character from Downton Abbey or something?
Is it?
Yeah, Willington Prevalon.
It sounds
remember
great.
'cause
I don't
Very
know.
fancy name. Well, he wore 93 with the Bucks. He's going to be 94 with the Cowboys. So just some jersey changes, jersey number changes to be wary of throughout the rest of the season. If you see guys and you're like, who is that?
But
Takes a
I
second
was
to adjust
surprised.
to.
J. Ron was asked, well, what happened with 0 since you said you were going to do it and you changed to 1? And he said Jerry Jones asked that nobody take 0 for a couple of seasons. So that's what
Interesting.
J-Ron said. So that's your explanation of why
He didn't do it.
neither J-Ron nor Micah nor any Cowboy
Took 0.
has 0. So yeah, but I like it. I think it's gonna look great. But and the other thing, Kelvin Joseph leaving too, because remember we had 2 number 1s with Kelvin Joseph and Brandon Aubrey. So
Well, ladies, I love this jersey number talk. However, we have a call from Danny in Camp Pendleton. Danny, how are you? Thanks so much for calling in. Hello.
Hey, I'm doing good. Real quick question, follow up to breakout season.
Okay.
Pro Bowl predictions, over, under, and who do you think will start but won't attend because we're going to go to the Super Bowl and win it in Vegas? Love your show, and keep up the good work, ladies.
Danny, thank you so much. I love that. That's so positive. Thank you. Very sweet. All right, you heard the man. Pro Bowl predictions. Who's having a Pro Bowl worthy season? Let's start there.
If Danny's right and no one's playing in it because the Cowboys are in the Super Bowl, it means they're having an awesome regular season going into December with the final vote. So I would say we'd probably have, at least 9 or 10 Pro Bowl players there.
How many was it
8?
this past year?
Let's see. Zach,
That's what I'm looking up
Yeah,
right
hang
now.
on. I got it here.
Zach Martin, CeeDee Lamb, Tony Pollard, DeMarcus Lawrence, Trayvon Diggs, Micah Parsons, and Cavante Turpin.
But
So
then they
7 last
added
year.
Tyler Biotish
Yeah.
ended up being an injury replacement, so
Yeah.
you end up with more. So it's going to be great if the Cowboys the Super Bowl and they can't play in the Pro Bowl, because then Players Union will love that, because there'll be a bunch more guys getting money to play in the Pro Bowl and replace Dallas Cowboys.
Look, these guys keep talking about, hey, we're going to be in Vegas, so just get ready for us. During that 2023 season kickoff event, Micah Parsons said, we're going to be in Vegas. So it's pretty funny there.
Had an event with Dak Prescott on Wednesday evening, and it was for Sleep Number. And they were recognizing a terrific community volunteer named Dr. Rodriguez. And she does a lot with cancer screenings in Tarrant County and the like. And so one of the things that she was awarded a couple of Sleep Number beds, which is awesome. But then Dak handed her 2 tickets to the Super Bowl, said, of course, it's in Las Vegas, and I plan to be playing there. So you see you again in Las Vegas. So it was really very cute and very sweet.
Oh, I love that. Okay, let's continue on. We had another question that I know we wanted to address. Let's see. Where is it? Okay, I cannot find it now. Oh, here it is. Okay, we have from Gerald. He said, great show, ladies. Know that the Dallas Cowboys are short at linebacker. Do you think they will plan to add any depth to that position? And I know we wanted to address this before.
So 2 things real quick. One thing I did see at practice the other day, granted, like, we're not sitting, I think that was the longest time I think it was the first day, it was the longest time I think we've gotten to watch. Marquise Bell, like, the thing that they're doing with, like, a linebacker and a safety is a real thing, y'all. Mm-hmm. Like, it's a real thing that Dan Quinn does schematically, and it works. But also, I personally wouldn't mind bringing in another. Well, I wouldn't mind if they brought in another veteran. However, if they don't, I think that really speaks to what they think about Devin Harper and how well he's played, and just what comfort level they have in him getting these reps. So that's just where I'm at with it. But I do think if they don't, it really says a lot about what they think about Devin Harper and their safety room that's super deep at this point.
Yeah, that's the thing, because Marquise Bell is not listed under linebacker. Micah Parsons is not listed under linebacker. You only have 4 people listed at linebacker, but, like Aisha says, Bell is really going to be used that way. Yep. And the one thing I would mention is Malik Jefferson was re-signed to the practice squad. The Cowboys did lose Jabril Cox. We had talked earlier in the week about guys that, they're going to be released, but they're going to be brought back. We talked about Sean McCune at tight end. Things like that happened, so Sean McCune is back. But Jabril Cox is actually a Washington Commander right now. So right now there's only one linebacker, Jefferson, on the practice squad. But I want to mention one thing about bringing in depth. And this isn't exclusive to the Cowboys. This is across the league. The way it works in terms of paying players, if you are a vested veteran, meaning 4 years plus, if you are on a roster for the opening game, your base salary is guaranteed for the entire season. That's if you're on the roster, 53-man, for the first game. And the reason why you see a lot of these veterans get signed after that first game going into the second week is teams don't have to guarantee their base salary for the entire year. So I just want you to know that there's going to be movement, and I'm not predicting it with the Cowboys, but you're going to see a flood of transactions that take place after game one. These free agents that are sitting out there that haven't been signed to a practice squad or to a 53-man, they're going to get signed to 53-man after the first week, because then the teams don't have to guarantee their salary for the entire season.
Great point, Christy.
Oh, man. We love Christy so much. Real quick before we go, we are pressed for time. However, I couldn't help but ask you, before we head into week one of the Dallas Cowboys regular season as they take on the New York Giants for Sunday Night Football. Oh, that feels so good to say. Who are you most excited to see take the field? And aside from the guys we talked about, doesn't have to be a young guy. No bounds here. I'm leaving this up to you. Who are you excited? Just first player that's coming to mind, Aisha.
Osa Odigizua.
Oh, yeah.
How did I know you were going to say Osa?
Yeah.
I had a feeling.
Listen, man, this is what year is this for him? 3?
Yeah. 3 or 4.
Is it 4?
Let's see.
I'm distracted.
double
Taylor
check,
Swift's
yeah.
on the TV
But
over here. I'm sorry.
it's about that time for Osa, and you just
It's
see
3,
him.
yeah, 3.
It's 3. This is when it normally for a lot of DTs, man, and he's also too gonna get so many more one-on-one opportunities. What's up?
Yes.
But yeah, that's my guy.
And I was
think.
going to tell you too, because you've mentioned kind of the scheme and how difficult it is for guys to pick up. I don't know. From what I've seen from Osa in the locker room, it looks like his shoulders are down.
Oh.
He's more confident. He's walking in the confidence now. You can see that.
A lot stronger, and just his control, his body control looks like it's next level right now. So Osa Odigizua.
All right,
Love
Christy, who's your guy?
Brandon Cooks on offense. I mean, we haven't seen him in a game. He's so fast, but so smooth. Gosh, his routes are awesome. And on defense, I mean, Michael Parsons, I'm sorry that it's so obvious, but he blew up every single play of training camp.
It's almost
and
unfair.
He is just going to be, oh my gosh, he stays healthy this year. It's going to be off the chain. It really is.
I am going with Michael Gallup. I'm so excited for MG. I finally got to talk to him yesterday, and I wanted to mention this before we ended the show. He told me, he said, I just can't stop smiling. And people keep asking me why I'm smiling. And it's because it's almost go time. And I can come in here and I can just do what I love and play football. And that's a reoccurring theme that you've heard from a lot of guys is they're not worried about anything other than playing now. And Michael, MG, he admittedly struggled with his confidence last season. And after that, after his return in week 4 against the Commanders last year, he had that touchdown. And then he said, it just wasn't clicking for him. And he contributes that to Dak Prescott not being able to form that chemistry right away. Cooper Rush was in at that point. But he said this year, all he wants to do is just come in the game, do what he loves best, and he's 1,000 leaps forward from where he was this time last year. He wasn't cleared to play this time last year.
That's a great choice.
And so he said, my favorite quote, and then I'll end with this. He said, one of the biggest things that he wants to do this year, he will define success by his leadership with the young guys. And he said that, obviously I want to play full season, but for me this year, it's focusing on the younger guys and being there for them and being that leader.
Isn't that great? He is a selfless guy. That's really good. But you know what? None of us said Deuce Vaughn. There's a third of our audience right now going Deuce that we didn't say Deuce.
I thought that was obvious, though.
The good thing is that we got to think of so many different guys. That's how
it's a good problem to have.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, ladies. Well, we are pressed for time, but like I said, we'll be back next week starting at 4:00 on Tuesday. Make sure to tune in. That's our regular time throughout the season again, and we are so excited to talk regular season football with you. Until then, enjoy your weekend. Have a great day. For Jess Navarez, Christy Scales, and Aisha Morrison, this has been Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Jigsaw, the preferred dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys. See you next week.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.